r/AskReddit. People who have been on TV, game shows. What are some behind the scenes secrets that regular viewers don't know about? I was on Cash Cab. You can't just hail a cab in New York, which turns out to be the Cash Cab. There is a vetting process, but you don't know you are going to be on the show, so the reaction is genuine. Also, there is a lot of awkward silence time while he is listening to the producer in his ear. There is a cameraman riding shotgun unseen on TV. The money he gives is prop money for TV. They mail you a check after the show airs. Ben Bailey was genuinely a nice guy. I was on Wheel of Fortune. You have to get there at 5 AM where you draw straws with other contestants to decide when you will film. They film the entire week of episodes in one day. Pat Sajak is incredibly friendly and interacted with us on every break. The wheel is heavy. They let the other girl in the showcase showdown, Price is Right, rebid after the audience booed her original bid, something silly low like $10,000. When it aired, they cut her original bid and showed only her second, winning bid. I lost. Dude, they let her rebid and she won? That is some bullshit. I was in the audience at The Price is Right. You wait like 4+ hours just to get into the taping. They come by and give you a short interview to see if you are a good prospect to make it to contestant row. I was with a group of 4 and none of us made it. The studio audience is significantly smaller than it appears on TV. Drew Carey told jokes between filming. The set is tiny. The wheel is tiny. No secrets to reveal except that they must use some serious lenses and angles to make it appear bigger. It was a long day, but it was a cool experience. I auditioned for X Factor. You don't go to the celebrity judges first, you go in front of some off-camera judges. So every terrible and horrible singer you see on the show has already been told they are better than the many talented ones not deemed TV worthy, which makes it a lot more disgusting to me. They tell the audience to clap and cheer and they film that to edit it in during appropriate events. If we didn't cheer or clap loud enough, they had us retake it. The same goes for grimaces, negative reactions and shock surprise. A work colleague of mine was one of the couples in Married at First Sight. She had a horrible experience, needed counseling afterwards and is still receiving an appearance fee. Read hush money, even though her season aired like 5 years ago. Her words, Unreal may as well be a documentary. Producers keep an eagle eye on contestants throughout the day, even escorting you to the bathroom. This is because of the quiz show scandals of the 1950s. And because the whole week tapes in a day, you have to bring 4 changes of clothes with you, all in solid colors so the patterns don't bleed on camera. This was the 80s, so recording technology may have improved since then. Was on a MTV game show called Fist of Zen on MTV. Basically a group of people subjected to painful and nauseating tasks for cash. We won every round, but the producer asked us to purposefully fail one to change things up. Despite losing one round, we were still paid the full prize money. My wife got a tattoo on a tattoo competition show. They gave her headphones to wear while she was being tattooed, but she wasn't allowed to actually plug them in and listen to music. Pure product placement LOL. Other than that, it was a really good experience. Producers worked with her for several weeks leading up to and made sure she got a tattoo subject and style that she wanted. Was in the audience at a Food Network taping, and Iron Chef America really is a 60-minute competition. That's not fudged. The judging on the other hand takes forever. What I never got is how the food doesn't get cold while waiting. I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it's all scripted. The filming took half a day for 30 minutes of film. When you win the intro round, you are taken out to get your makeup on, and then they instruct you how to act when you celebrate. The reason the audience is so completely useless and why you see so many press wrong on obvious answers is because 20-30% of the audience is friends and family to the other 7 contestants who are waiting for their turn. We spent 2 days in the studio, and if the initial contestant loses, the others get their chance. If one contestant goes far and takes a lot of time, no one else gets a chance, so the audience tells the wrong answer on purpose. Not a game show, but was in the audience for the Steve Harvey show. Holy crap, is he a shallow and fragile individual. We were told we could ask him questions between takes if he was in a good enough mood, which he would only be in if we reacted well during takes. We also were not allowed to ask him any questions about his teeth or mustache. He also said that his lifelong dream was always to just be on television and that's it. There's an indicator that tells you when you can chime in with your clicker when responding to a trivia question clue. If you try to ring in before it lights up, you are locked out for a few seconds, perhaps long enough for another contestant to ring in. In Jeopardy, the indicator is a set of lights on the perimeter of the big board. In Win Ben Stein's Money, it was literally a lamp on a lampstand on a lampshade. Viewers never see it because the shot is of something else. For example, the contestant saw a closer shot of the game board. I was on WBSM in 2002, became the episode's champion but couldn't beat Ben in the bonus round. And Jeopardy in 2013, led at the end of Double Jeopardy but the competition was tough. Bet big on Final Jeopardy but blanked, losing and coming in third. For Jeopardy, they tape 5 episodes, a week's worth, a day, 2 days a week. The same crew works on Wheel of Fortune, which is literally next door. 12 contestants show up for the taping day, the returning champion from the previous week, enough challengers to fill in the first 4 episodes, another challenger for the Friday episode, and 2 alternates in case something happens. The alternates tend to be locals from the LA area in case they have to come back later, before the final taping. If the 2 alternates haven't gotten to appear, one of them is randomly chosen to be the second challenger on the Friday show. The one who isn't chosen is invited to come back on a future taping date, but then with a guaranteed slot as a challenger. Selections of challengers and even sets of clues are random. In order to stay fair, during the episode's taping, the rest of the week's contestants sit in the front few rows way to the right of the audience, and thus won't appear in audience reaction shots. In the middle of the day, after the third taping, remaining contestants are sequestered and treated to lunch at the studio commissary. If you're done playing, you're expected to leave, go home. In Deal or No Deal, only the interesting people get picked. If you are outgoing and excited, you've got a high chance of being selected. Also, if you appear to be their target contestant, but turn out to be a dud, then I think they have the option of not putting you on air and no prize for you. Whether that is a threat they follow through with or not, I'm not sure. I was part of the paid audience for American Ninja Warrior. I was actually with a vegetarian group that collected the money earned for charity, so that was cool. What wasn't cool was getting downtown at midnight, for there to be hundreds of bats flying around and a 2-hour delay. We were only allowed to wear certain colors, no logos, and yeah, they did take the audience cheering booing to edit and later, which was honestly a good thing because at around 3 AM, most of the audience started leaving. The stands were empty, so they had us moving down the course as they filmed to make it look more full, haha. I got to meet a couple of the warriors. We all were on TV, and we nabbed a sign from the set. Overall was fun. My teacher was on Wheel of Fortune Australia and he won a life supply of WD-40. It turns out with average usage a can of WD-40 lasts 20 years. So a life supply is 4 cans. You win a lifetime supply of hammers. Here's 1 hammer. Been on a few in the UK, most notably The Chase. In all honesty, there's little in the way of secrets. I met my team on The Chase that morning in the hotel waiting for the taxi. On one show we were kept apart from our opponents, probably to stop colluding about splitting or stealing. Another was just a long wait in the green room waiting for other episodes to film. As other people have said, clothes are important. No logos, solid colors, no solid black or white though. Had very little interaction with hosts other than between takes or when they introduce themselves before the show. They have a job to do, so can't just spend time shooting the shit with you. That being said, Bradley Walsh was really nice. Oh, Ray the Chase, you and Bradley legitimately have no idea which chaser you will face. Bradley likes the surprise of it apparently. A lot of his bits are ad-libbed, too. When I was a kid I went to a family game show with my uncle. The theme of the show was animal life, so it featured interviews, musical performances, etc. In between the questions we had to answer. None of that was shot in the order you see on TV. We shot questions and answers all in one go. Everything else had already been shot before and they used sound effects to make you think it was sequential. I was on one that required like 30-second shot. Don't quite remember all the contestants scrambling around picking up the supplies they want. Turns out we didn't need nearly that long. but they had us continue to scramble and push through even though there was plenty of space and no real rush. I was in the audience of a game show and the host didn't interact with us at all. Instead, to keep the audience spirits up, they had this guy joke around with the audience between shows. I think it was 5 shows in one day or something. He was funnier than the host, actually. I was in the audience of Polish versions of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. To prevent cheating, you have to pass 2 metal detector gates before entering studio. No phone or other electronic allowed. Everything takes so long here. Episode lasts around 30 minutes, but recording it 2-3 hours. There are only 3 episodes recorded every day. Once the big screen behind host back broke and we had to sit for 4 hours until it was repaired. At least we got paid extra. Friend, you phone in one of the lifelines is sitting in the same building as studio, just other room. I've also been author of Few Question for Jeopardy, which is called Varbonk here. Pretty badass name. Most of the authors had to be PhD or experienced experts in their field. I was accepted as a student just because they were short on economy and mathematics question. Sadly, it was only one-time gig, but it was pretty fun seeing contestants trying to find question for answers I wrote. It also paid pretty nice, 100 zlotys, so around $25, for each 5 question from one category, which was like 15 minutes of work. For my 19th birthday, we went to a Jerry Springer taping. This was about 12 years ago when it was still in Chicago. It's faker than I thought, but far more entertaining than seeing the occasional episode on TV. The guests are small-time actors trying to get screen time in. One was actually an eloquent British woman, but her character was supposed to be a gutter dyke. Not sure that would fly nowadays. Most of what's filmed is never used and you also get tired from non-stop clapping. However, during breaks they show live marionette sex scenes and also give beads to women if they go topless. These are audience members. You're also encouraged to antagonize the actors on stage with one-liners. 10 out of 10 would never go back, but it was fun. I was a contestant on The Price is Right. They don't choose people at random. They interview everyone in the audience for about 30 seconds earlier in the day and decide who to pick based off that. I was in a sort of kids racing game show. It was cancelled shortly after I participated on it. I can't remember the exact details because I was like 6 or 7, but I will never forget how they made me feel. Basically, we were a bunch of little kids racing each other to complete the most games in a certain time. If you completed the whole thing, around 20 games or so, without the time running out nor breaking certain rules for each level, you won a shit ton of toys or something like that. They made test runs that were actually them recording the whole thing without us knowing. I completed the whole thing in like 7 minutes. It was supposed to last at least 15. The level helpers took me aside and told me it was an amazing run, so I got qualified to appear on the TV show in the actual recording. The level helpers sabotaged me. They grabbed me to prevent me from popping the balloons of the first level, pushed balloons away from me, pushed the correct balloons towards other kids. You were supposed to pop balloons to find a key for the next level. Gave me timeout for breaking rules that I wasn't breaking. I specifically remember running up a ramp after being sabotaged a lot by the helpers. To get to my next level, I was catching up to the other kids, and they ducking grabbed my ankle and made me fall off the ramp. I was disqualified because I took too long to get to the other level. They forced me to sit on the loser's box and watch all of the other kids that I had already beaten up in the test run finish the thing and win. I did not appear in that episode when it showed on TV, not even me failing. Had a teacher in middle school who won full carpeting for a house on The Price is Right when he was in grad school. He did not own a home in grad school. He also said you could see which games were coming up in line off on the side, and literally everyone was trying to hold out winning the first game for Plinko LOL. Edit. Words. Not a game show, but I lived in Halifax for a while, so I went to a lot of this. Hour has 22 minutes tapings because visiting friends' family would want to go. They pump you full of cheap wine before you go in. Filming takes generally 2 to 3 hours. To my disappointment, most of the actors were dongs with the exception of Sean Magenda, who was always entertaining people between takes, and the odd guest star. If you ever wonder why the live studio audience laughs hardest at bad jokes, it's because if one didn't get a genuine laugh the first time, they'd replay it and flash the applause sign until it did. how fast they want to get rid of you when it's over. I was on Millionaire and it ends when they shoot everyone gathering around the host, laughing, shaking hands etc as if it's the start of an after party. They end the shot and then you have just a few minutes to grab your stuff from the dressing room and get on the bus out of there. I can understand it. Their post-production work is just beginning, and most of the contestants are about to get a big disappointment hangover. You arrive full of hopes and dreams and then most people will not get into the chair, or will flame out pretty quickly. Some of the contestants were already starting to get cranky, and the production staff have no further use for them. This is game show adjacent, but I went to a live eviction for Big Brother Canada during the first season. If anyone is familiar, it's specifically the eviction where Peter was voted out, and Gary was voted back in. Arisa Cox, the host, was actually super great and personable with the audience, and between takes, they would make us film cheers applause if they weren't loud enough. And there was what I later found out they called the hot row. Everyone had assigned seating going in, but PAs would roam around and move people so that attractive people were essentially the ones whose faces would be visible on screen in the audience. I found out more about this after because I hung out with some friends who worked for the production. It's how I got the tickets, and they were complaining about a specific PA who was doing a bad job of assigning the hot row because he kept picking people he thought were dressed well, as opposed to just being good looking. Even though the episode itself is an hour, I think it took somewhere between 2-3 hours to film. I remember feeling gross and sweaty and uncomfortable when it was over because the seating was just uncomfortable metal folding chairs. It also doesn't air live, obviously. They recorded a few hours before it's set to air. Once the whole thing is over, they practically push you out the door. Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune both film at Sony Pictures. When I interned there, I got to go watch a Jeopardy taping on 2 separate occasions. During commercial breaks, Alex Trebek walks out into the audience and asks if anyone has any questions for him. He's really funny and I got to ask him a few. My friend that I brought used his one question to this absolute TV icon to ask him if he had ever seen a video called Jeopardy where it's basically all the contestants named Jeff. The questions are all Jeff and the answers are all Jeff. Alex just looked confused and said, "Jeopardy? No, I don't think I have," and walked away. One of the Clue Crew people, I can't remember his name, would talk to us a lot and told my friend he saw it. I just like to think that Alex went home that night and remembered my friend's weird question, then watched it and thought about him. I was on a show about 8 years ago and we had to come back the next day to reshoot certain scenes. There is definitely some level of acting, or at least there was for us. They used special effects and green screens and everything. It was really fun, but there is a lot of time waiting around in between filming where you are just chillin' backstage. We ended up just chatting with our competitors all day and we were supplied plenty of food, snacks, drinks. Also, fun fact, when other shows are filmed and you see other talent, you are not supposed to speak to them backstage. We saw WWE stars and we couldn't talk to them, it's considered taboo. Backstage is like the safe space where everyone is eating and relaxing and don't want to be bothered. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.